Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Thousand Calorie Cheese Sauce. My name is Saki, and there is my brother, Mr. Sundown.
Yeah,
are
there I am.
you trying to wave?
Yeah, with my hello.
All right, so the Discord background is just covering your hand. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean today what we'll be talking about is Evil Dead 2, which is one of our favorite films, and kind of just recently showed up in our favorite cinema to go to, which is Odeon in the UK. And just out of the blue, I think they're just playing alongside some of the latest cinema releases. They're playing some old films, and I stumbled across it and kind of said to you, I didn't think you were going to say yes because you're a bit more conscious of what we kind of go to see in the cinema. Uh, but I was like, do you want to go watch it? And you're like, yeah, let's go, let's go. Oh, okay, safe, let's go.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Evil Dead 2 probably in about, probably about 5 years. I did at one point used to try and watch the whole series of films every 2 3 years. How long's it been since you watched any of them?
I don't know. I feel like it's been relatively recent, but yeah, it could have been anywhere between two and 3 years. But I thought it was a bit more recent than that because I remembered a lot of the scenes. But then there were scenes where I didn't remember. I was like, hey, I don't even remember this. Like there were parts where he was walking through the house, and I was like, I don't remember this part of the house. I don't remember this scene. So it might have been longer than I thought, but I think because it's so memorable, it felt like I'd watched it sooner than rather than um, a long time ago.
Yeah, there was a lot of scenes that I thought were supposed to be in the film that were actually in the first film. So just to kind of, we'll do a quick kind of recap of all three films, I suppose, or at least the very first one. So the first Evil Dead film, all three of them are directed by Sam Raimi, who's more known, I suppose, to some younger viewers or even guys in our age range, for doing the Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire. So one, two, and three. I think after that he did films like Drag Me to Hell. I'm not really sure what else he's been working on since then. I think the last film of his I saw was Drag Me to Hell, which I wasn't overly keen on. Uh, but Bruce Campbell is in all three Evil Dead films, um, and so the
And I
story
think
of
in all three Spider-Man
he's
films
on,
as
yeah,
well.
that's true. He makes a cameo in all three Spider-Man films as well. Um, but the kind of story of Evil Dead 1 is that this group of friends go to like this cabin in the woods. I think it's just for chilling out. They just wanted to go out and just have like a relaxation. I think there's about five friends. They go out to this cabin, and to make a long story short, they inadvertently awaken the dead. So these demonic souls from this book called the Necronomicon, which is the Book of the Dead. And like reading the passages from it kind of opens up a portal between Earth, or just the normal world and the demon world, and the dead are trying to come back into the physical bodies of humans. And so this, I mean, the first one was brilliant. It's a kind of very low budget horror movie,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's very much that it's like a serious horror movie. Now, in the
Hmm.
past, before we went to see Evil Dead 2 in the cinema this time around, I would have said to you, uh, and I have said in the past to people, it's like, the first film is 100% intentional horror. It's just a horror film. The second film is like 50% horror, 50% like black comedy, and then the third film, Army of Darkness, is just full on black comedy.
Yeah.
Is just a
Yeah.
comedy film. Um, but after seeing Evil Dead 2, I think one of the things I took away was how funny the second film was. I would actually say it's more black comedy than
Yeah.
it is a serious horror film. Um, so yeah, I've completely kind of changed my opinion on the second film. It was a very short film. I think we said it was like an hour and 40, something like that. So one of the shorter films that
Something
we've
like
seen
that.
recently in cinema. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think I agree with you because we were in cinema, and obviously one of the things that you get in cinema sometimes, not usually in British cinemas, but we did get it this time around. We got some of the reactions of the guys around us, the people around us, and they were laughing at like certain scenes, and they were like especially parts where Bruce Campbell, or I think in the movie his character is named Ash. He's having like breakdowns and all this type of stuff. He's properly anxious because there's demons trying to kill him, and he's been possessed at some point. We'll get to that, but all of this stuff is going on around him, and he's losing his mind, or he thinks he's losing his mind, and then he actually is losing his mind, and then he's about to be attacked by the things he thinks he's losing his mind with. All these types of things, and people are laughing in the cinema, and I was like, yeah, I actually didn't realize how funny this was, because even when like I said, in these scenes where you're like, it could be seen as a scene where he's losing his mind slowly, well, actually pretty quickly. It's still funny the way that Bruce Campbell, and obviously the way it's been directed as well. It's just funny the way it's being acted out and being shown. Like Bruce Campbell losing his mind is very different to how someone, for instance, in a modern day horror movie, like the Paranormal Activities and the Drag Me to Hells and all these other types, Insidious. The way that people kind of slowly lose their minds in those types of movies is very kind of psychological, very is very visceral. You can tell that, oh, this is like, it feels wrong. But when Bruce Campbell's losing his mind, it's like he's kind of in between losing his mind and then shifting into his "I'm gonna kick some ass" mode. So it becomes very very funny because it's not as kind of it doesn't make you feel as concerned for the character for some reason. But yeah, so it was more comedic than I remember it being.
Yeah, so I mean, we can start from the beginning of Evil Dead 2. That's what we'll do now. Just after talking about Evil Dead 1. So Evil Dead 2 starts off with a recap, and this was always strange. Even fans of the movie, like, you see discussions on the internet about it, as to why they did this, and I still don't really know the answer to it. Evil Dead 2 starts off with a recap of the first movie, but it retcons the story. So I think the first 5-10 minutes are explaining, Ash went to the woods with his girlfriend. So instead of a group of friends, it's just him and his girlfriend. So they've like retconned them out of the story. So I would always recommend, always watch all three films. It's one of the better trilogy of films that you'll watch.
Yeah.
So he goes into the cabin in the woods with just his girlfriend. He finds there's recordings by a professor there who's reading passages from the Necronomicon Book of the Dead. And he's telling the story of how, he accidentally awakened or opened a portal between the demon realm and also the human realm, and how the demons were coming over and at one point took over the body of his old wife. And how he had to kill his wife and bury her bury her downstairs in the cellar.
We find out that part. We find out that part a bit later. Though.
Later on, yeah.
At the beginning, it's just literally he's. This is always, by the way, this is something that always struck me with the movie. So the first 5-10 minutes, you're right. It's that kind of retconned revisiting of the first movie where it's like, oh yeah, I came to this cottage with my girlfriend. The people who live in the cottage weren't there, so we were just like, why not have some champagne, huh? But all that type of stuff I'm fine with. But what always gets me is when they have this old, like, I'm not even sure what you call them, it's like those recording devices, because it's not a vinyl recorder.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like a tape. It's just tape. It's not cassette tape. It's just one of those big like reels of tape. We wouldn't know. It's not from our generation, but
yeah, but essentially it's like that one where they have like one big wheel, one small wheel. We've seen it a million times, and then it's got tape running through it, and you can record over it, play back, all that type of stuff. So on this recording, what this professor did was he was like, oh yeah, I've got the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, so I'm going to read the passages, and he reads the passages, and the first time that you hear it, he doesn't tell us about his wife. He's just reading the first passages, which summons this demon, and I was like, bro, which person would go and find this Book of the Dead and go, you know what, I'm gonna record the passages that possibly summon something. Obviously, he might not have been like, it's actually gonna summon something. But he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna record this, so just in case if something does go wrong, the 1%, if somebody else comes to my cottage." And he thought at that point, by the way, later on in the movie, we find out that his daughter and her boyfriend or whatever, that they were coming to the cottage. So for all intents and purposes, they would have played it and they would have been KO'd by it.
Yeah.
But he recorded this and basically just left it there for whoever else came next to just die if they played it.
Yeah, it's not really discussed what happened to him either. The professor himself. The
Yeah,
assumption is,
we kind of get a general idea, but we don't like his wife. We know exactly what happened to her.
Yeah.
But with him, it's just like what happened exactly.
yeah, but yeah. So continuing off, they take Ash's girlfriend. So these demons they take the body of his girlfriend, and she tries to kill him. And in a kind of very rushed sequence, especially compared to the first film, he ends up killing her, beheading her, burying her outside the cabin. And I was just like, man, you could have done a better job trying to kill her, because very soon after that, she actually comes back alive in a kind of diminished body, even though it's only been a few hours. But yeah, like it kind of goes where his body's being attempted to be taken over by the demons. That was a bit of a weird way to say it, but the demons are trying to take over his body. And at that part early in the film, the only reason he comes back to being himself is because the sun comes out, and the sun is one of the things that's keeping these demons away. And it doesn't seem to be up for very long. Put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For some reason, like the demons are very like conscious of the daylight, but also they seem to have some sort of effect where it's like 12 hours passes in 2 minutes, and it's like, bro, if you can do that, daylight means nothing to you. You just hide in like the house for a couple seconds. Look at your watch as 2 minutes go by. The sun's gone down suddenly. It's like, all right, we're back, my G. You know, you're good to go again. So yeah, the sun does go down very quickly.
Yeah. So it's very kind of funny in this one, because it's the demons are all out to get him, and they're trying to make him lose his mind as well. They're driving him crazy. They're physically destroying him, and yeah. So what he tries to do, he's like, forget this. I'm gonna get out of here while I've still got a little bit of my sanity. So he gets in his car, goes to the bridge that they crossed over to get to the cabin, and it's being destroyed. And so they chase him back to the cabin after he finds out that the path has been destroyed and he can't go back. He goes back, and yeah, like he's slowly kind of losing his mind. At this point in the film, they're kind of switching between characters. So they're showing Ash being trapped in this cabin and being driven crazy. The house is coming alive. And the demons are all kind of making noises and like talking to him and saying stuff to him. But then they're also switching over to the professor's daughter, who's just landed from a plane where she's got pages from the Necronomicon, which she wants to take to her dad because they're extra pages that they found. They're archaeologists of some sort. I think all these are. So her and her brother.
Is it her brother or boyfriend? Is it?
That's the thing I was confused about. I think it's a brother.
Yeah, because they did introduce that, because he says like our dad and stuff like that, but I swear they kissed each other, and I was like,
yeah, no. So don't hold me to that.
No, but you're right. You're right, because in the movie I was watching it, and it's like, oh yeah, our dad and stuff like that, and I was like, huh?
I think it was just on the
Did
cheek.
you just lick your sister?
I always thought. I'll be
Wars?
honest with you. I always thought he was a boyfriend until watching it this time around, and I'm pretty sure they said that it is the brother. But anyway, their side of the story is going along at the same time as Ash dealing with all the shit in the house, and with his dead girlfriend now, who's been taken over by the demons. What they're trying to do is get to that cabin where they think that their parents are, who are studying the Necronomicon. But as they're going along, and like I said, don't worry too much about the timeline stuff. As they're going along, they find out that bridge that they also need to cross to get to the cabin, that's been destroyed. And they meet up with this kind of hillbilly redneck and his girlfriend, and they say that they know like a kind of beaten off the road, like in a path to get to the cabin.
Trail.
The trail. So they pay them some money to take him on this off the path. In the meantime, Ash's girlfriend's been resurrected somehow. Because he didn't finish her off. She's come back from the grave, and she bites his hand. So the other funny part of this film is after he gets his hand bitten and he eventually kills his girlfriend properly, kind of gets like a chainsaw out and slashes her up. His hand goes evil on him. Yeah, so his hand goes evil on him, like a bit like zombie movies, like if you get bitten you turn into a zombie. But his hand starts fighting against him, so it got a life of its own and tries to kill him. So a lot of the people in the cinema that we were in would laughing their asses off because of that whole concept, the hand's making its own noises and stuff like that. And so he's forced to chop his own hand off
with that same chainsaw.
With that chainsaw, yeah. So he has to chop his hand off, and so he's only got one hand left. But the idiot put the hand in a bucket and didn't kill it. So the hand's raising havoc in the house. So you explain to them what goes on in that kind of whole scene.
Yeah, so I think that's where people started really like creasing in the cinema, because the dynamic between Ash and his hand. Because what I really like about the film is that it understands the character of Ash really well. The other characters maybe not so much, but the character of Ash, the movie really fleshes out to the point where it can't flesh him out anymore. And one of the best examples of that is his hand, which seems to retain a lot of Ash's character. So it's like, it's only a hand and it's separated from the rest of its body. It's crawling around the house and stuff like that, like a rat or like a mouse. It's just running around the house, and it's actually going into these like mice holes or these mouse holes and stuff like that in the house. And it still has its own like sarcasm and comedy associated with itself, with the new character of the hand. But it's very similar to Ash. Like there's one part where it's kind of just waiting on Ash, and it's just rolling its fingers, waiting for Ash to like reload his shotgun. And as Ash reloads his shotgun, the hand's trying to run away and like just evade his shot, and accidentally runs into a mouse trap and gets hit, and he's like, ah! And then Ash is there like, ha! And he starts laughing at the hand.
Yeah.
And the hand just goes, it starts flipping the bird.
So there's a whole scene where once he chops off his hand, he's chasing his hand around to destroy it. So he pulls out a shotgun and he's trying to shoot his hand. But the hand goes into a wall, like you say. There's a mouse hole, there's a mouse trap there, and so it ends up just being like a kind of a shooting target situation.
Yeah,
and
so like stuff like that is really interesting how they decide to do that. But yeah, so the house is being run amok by this hand, and Ash is basically trying to destroy the hand so that it doesn't, because he knows anything associated with these demons is going to try and kill him in some way, shape, or form. And the hand already, there's quite a decent scene where it's just getting as many plates and stuff like this, dishes, knives, all this type of stuff to try and kill Ash. And it actually knocks him unconscious for a while before he chops it off. So then the scene, which was funny, is the hand has gone into the walls of the house, and Ash is now trying to track it via sound, and he's trying to shoot it. At one point, he actually hits the hand. We're not sure how badly. All we know is there's a little bit of blood that comes trickling out of the wall. And then the blood starts to flow a little bit more, and then suddenly there's just a whole cascade, like a horizontal waterfall of blood, which just starts absolutely just demolishing Ash. He's just being flooded by this blood. The blood then turns black and it gets sucked back in. And then the hand, I think from that point onwards, actually, the hand disappears. We don't see the hand again for the rest of the movie.
The assumption is that he's destroyed the hand, basically. He's shot it dead. And I think this is the point in the film where he's just there, like, disoriented by all the blood that's being shot out, and like the house. I think the house comes alive at this point as well, where like he's got like there's like a stag's head on the wall, like you have in some of these old like wooden style cabins, and like you have like a lamp, and they're all like moving, and that whole sequence of stuff is just amazing, like how that's shot. And that is kind of where he he hears like a noise, pops out his shotgun, shoots towards the door, and he hears a scream, and it's the professor's daughter. So that's her name's Annie, and like we were talking about they were trying to get to the cabin. This is the professor's daughter, and they're trying to find their parents. So they think he's some crazy madman. So they've come to the cabin now, and he's shooting outside, and they're like, "Holy shit, what's this?" And they think he's some crazy madman, and because he's got one hand, he's drenched in blood, and the assumption is that they think he's murdered their parents.
Yeah, there's a chainsaw lying on the ground as well.
Yeah, with blood.
So it's like, yeah, this dude's definitely just murdered her parents. So they grab him and throw him in the cellar.
Yeah. So there's two guys and two girls. The two guys just pin him down and put him in the cellar. And so as they're looking around trying to find their parents, they press the tape recorder thing, and the professor still carries on talking. He's talking about, like you were saying, this is the part where he talks about how the demons have possessed his wife. Then quite conveniently he says, "I killed her, and then I locked her in the cellar." And so they're all looking at the cellar, and Ash is in the cellar at this point. He's just become conscious from being knocked out in the cellar, and he's looking down, and all of a sudden this old fat demon pops out, and he's just like, ah!
Yeah. So the key thing to remember here is, so they all think that Ash, like, I would be in the same mindset as them. They all think Ash killed her parents.
Yeah.
She presses this button and realizes actually her dad had been alive until about like a week ago.
Yeah.
At the very least. And her dad is saying that he killed Henrietta, which is his wife. So that instantly takes some of the blame off of Ash. So they're now thinking, okay, so what the hell was this guy doing here? And then hearing her dad say, I killed my wife and buried her in the cellar. And he's already explained that these demons are like possessing bodies, they're coming back from the dead, all that type of stuff. So like that's already like got her thinking, what the hell's going on? And then hearing Ash going, ah! And downstairs, they were just like, shit, something's down there with him, or like something's going on. So then they have to like make the decision of do we actually let him out of the cellar or not? This dude drenched in blood.
Yeah, well, I think at that point they were like, "Yep, we got to get him out," because he's just banging on from underneath. He's like, "There's something in here with me." They get him out, and then the demon pops out as well and starts floating, and it's hilarious. It's funny, like this version of the film, because they're all like look really gross and like fat and like flying around in the air, just going.
Yeah. Did the floating happen here, or was that later? I don't think this was the floating part.
That was a bit later, but I think at this point, she's just trying to drag Ash down.
Yeah, she tries to drag Ash down. She grabs the hillbilly. No, she grabs the brother / boyfriend.
Yeah, who just gets knocked over awfully quick. I didn't quite understand what happened to him. So, they're all trying to get Ash out from the cellar. They succeed, but they're also trying to keep that demon thing back in the cellar. So as that demon's trying to come out, the brother gets knocked out, unconscious, but then they manage to lock the thing back down in there. Ash comes out and he does he pop the eye out? Is this the same?
Yeah, so they slam the cellar door on top of the head of the Henrietta, she's now been possessed. And by the way, Theodore Raimi plays Henrietta, who is Sam Raimi's brother. So that was always interesting and fun. They did a really good job with Theodore Raimi's characters. But so they slam the cellar door on top, and the head kind of gets stuck between the cellar door and the floor. So it's kind of just being sandwiched in between, and the pressure pops out one of Henrietta's eyes.
And it goes into the hillbilly girlfriend's mouth, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But what happens at this point in the film? So they get her back in the cellar, and then Ash is just kind of giving them a quick breakdown. He's saying, "Look, there's something out there in the woods, and it's trying to, kill us. It's trying to take us over." And he's trying to come up with a bit of a plan of action to go back, try to get out of this cabin. But the hillbilly's more focused on trying to get out right now. He's like, no, let's wait for the sun to come out, because when the sun's out, the demons seem to go away, and that'll give us a chance to run away from the woods. At this point, the boyfriend's body, the brother's body is being possessed by a demon, and he pops out. I'm pretty sure it happens pretty much that soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And so what he does is he like eats some of the hair of the of Bobby Joe, sorry.
Bobby Joe.
Bobby
I thought it was Bobby Joe.
Is it Bobby? I think it might be Bobby Joe. You know how these guys pronounce it. I think it might be
Bobby
Bobby
Joe.
Joe. But he pronounces it Bobby Joe. And so he eats some of her hair. She's screaming. He gets the hillbilly dude whose name I can't actually remember. He slams him into the ceiling. He gets knocked out. And then he starts like trying to, I think, kill Annie. And at this point, Ash actually runs away. So Annie's like, "Where are you going, you coward?" And he comes back, and he's the only one with the brain. He picks up like an axe from the shed or something like that, and he just starts hacking away at the boyfriend slash brother. Which, by the way, Annie didn't really seem to give too much of a shit that her boyfriend slash brother slash maybe both, I don't know, it's 2021. But she doesn't really seem to care that this person that's really important to her just got hacked to pieces by the crazed madman who they just suspected killed her parents, but maybe didn't. And I was like,
well, she's too busy being one of the most annoying, making the most annoying sounds in mankind. Just going,
yeah.
Like,
so I think
getting hacked.
That's one of the trivia pieces of this movie, which is if you want to hear the most annoying scream ever in a movie, go watch Evil Dead 2. You'll have a whole like 10 minutes worth of compilation of just her screams, and it's horrific, man.
Yeah, and what was it? The brother in the demon form, he gets does he actually release Henrietta from the cellar?
No,
because he's there. Oh yeah, no, she's still in there, and he's just there floating around like this. So this is the part where the floating goes on, and they go like the dead by dawn, dead by dawn. Yeah. So they they're there just to torment them and just to tell them, we're gonna take all your souls, and you're gonna go to hell and all this. And the brother ends up getting killed. And then I think, to make a long story short, after that, oh yeah, that was what it was. So at this point, they're trying to come up with a plan to go, and then they hear sounds. And they find out, they go into this room and they find out there's like this spirit that's trying to contact them. And it's the spirit of the professor. And he's telling them that, look, there's passages in the book that can send these demons away, that can close the portal between the human realm and the demon realm. And it's part of the pages that Annie just found and brought to the cabin. So... they have a conversation with him, and all of a sudden, what happens is Baba Joe has, she's saying, "Oh yeah, there's something gripping my hand." She looks down, and it's Ash's hand, like his evil hand, who's grabbed onto her. And for some reason, she got so scared that even though they've just discussed that they need to stay in the cabin, she shoots out from the cabin into the woods.
Yeah.
And Ash and Annie are like, well, she did. There's a whole scene there where, she basically gets her ass kicked and she's dead. But
she gets, so like, rather than getting killed by zombies or like Kandarian demons, as they refer to, she gets roasted by like trees, which are possessed.
Yeah, that's right.
The entire woods at this point. And this scene was actually really cool because you get to see that the trees themselves, it's everything that could possibly be possessed in this area, even things that you'd think are like inanimate objects like trees, they've even been possessed. So
lamps.
You can see that they've taken on this form where they've got eyes and a mouth, but not like these types of eyes. It's kind of just holes in their bark that like signifies an eyes and a mouth, and it looks very, very kind of disconcerting. But she goes running into that same forest and just gets absolutely destroyed by these trees.
Yeah. In the meantime, her hillbilly boyfriend's just like, "Hey guys, come on, we should go after Baba Joe. She gotta be out there." And they're just like, "No, we're not going." And so they look away, and they're still trying to find these pages on what to read and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, he pulls out a shotgun on them and says, bitch, I'm running things in this town. We're going outside and we're gonna find Baba Joe. So under the threat of a gun, they're forced to go out of the cabin.
Wait, before they even go out, what he does is he
Yeah,
takes the pages and he throws them in the cellar where Henrietta's chilling.
yeah. So this dumbass, after seeing these demons and like knowing them to be a real thing, it's not just like something that they've made up. He takes the surefire method, like you would think, of reading these passages to get rid of these demons, and he says, "You know what? I'm gonna chuck them in the cellar, and we're gonna go basically saying to them, forget these pages. We're gonna go and find Baba Joe." So he throws them in the cellar, and the assumption is that they won't be able to get them out because Henrietta's in that cellar, the demon. So they go outside the cabin, and Ash and Annie are putting up a bit of resistance, so he knocks out Ash cold on the floor. And then he proceeds to kind of look at where she is, and he realizes, okay, shit, she's not here. I don't know what he was expecting to find, but he just starts shouting out, "Baba Joe, where are you, girl?"
Where are you, girl?
And then like the demons come. Seemingly it looks like the demons are coming over towards their direction, but actually what happens is Ash turns back into his demon form. So his body gets possessed. I say demon. He turns into his demon form. His body gets possessed again. So his body gets possessed. He throws around the hillbilly, knocks him out cold. I think he throws him into a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then chases Annie back into the house, and she's like, "Oh shit! This guy who I thought was gonna be able to save us because he seems to know what he's doing. He's turned into one of these. He's been possessed." So yeah, you explain what happens next after this.
Yeah. So then she's now locked herself in the house. The hillbilly's knocked out cold outside of the house, and Ash is in his zombie / possessed form. He's still locked out of the house, but he's trying to get in. So she's kind of rummaging around inside the house, and she finds that kind of she brought back 2 things from her archaeological find.
Yeah.
Which was the pages of the Necronomicon, and then she had this like dagger, this with a skull hilt. So the hilt has been fashioned. So
it's really cool. It looks like somebody's taken out somebody's spine and then this kind of fashioned it into a dagger.
Yeah.
But
so the blade looks like vertebrae just kind of being sharpened to a point.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So it looks really cool. Really cool design. Whoever because there's actual sketches in the Necronomicon Ex Mortis of that blade and stuff like that. So I actually want to know who actually did the sketches for the movie because a lot of the artwork's pretty good. But anyway, she's in this cabin. She's like looking around. She finds that, and she's like, "I'm gonna use this as a weapon in case Ash comes in." She hears one of the door handles being like twisted vigorously, so she hides behind a wall, and she's like, "There's this really tense scene as she's expecting someone to come in." The door flings open. She turns the corner and stabs straight at the space where someone would be, where that person would be in the door frame or in the doorway, and she's just stabbed straight down to the hilt of the dagger that she has. The hillbilly through the stomach, and he's like, "Oh shit!" So he flops on the ground. He's in a really bad situation, and then suddenly Ash pops up, not in that same doorway, but close enough to that doorway. She sees him through the window, and he's going, "Blah, blah, blah." So she's shitting her pants trying to shut the door, but the hillbilly's legs are in the doorway, so she's smacking his legs. She pulls him away a little bit, tries to shut the door again, but now she's smashing his ankles, and she's like, "Man, move your damn legs!"
Yeah, and so her with the annoying ass voice as well. She's just there going, "Shut up, shut up." She's got an annoying voice in that film.
So eventually she actually manages to close the door. She holds the door tight enough with her body weight that Ash can't come in. And then Ash kind of maneuvers away from there for some reason. So then she's dragging the hillbilly back into that living room where the majority of the movie takes place in that kind of living room. The first room they come into when they enter the cabin and where the cellar is. So she drags him over to there. He's still got the dagger. Actually, no, at this point, he's asked for her to remove the dagger from his stomach. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but I've always been told if you've received a stab wound, the last thing you want to do, and the item is still inside of you, i.e., if the knife is still inside of you, do not remove the item which you've been stabbed with,
because you're gonna bleed out.
That's my PSA. No, it's not just the bleeding out. It's the
I think you can if it's an arrow or something as well. You can do damage pulling, cutting other stuff up inside of you when pulling it out as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So what a lot of people expect is like even with knives, it's not just with arrows, which arrows are notoriously difficult because they're triangular. So
Yeah,
it's
they
it's
have like
got
a
a wide
hook
thing at
kind
the
of.
back, so you'd have to yank it out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
even with knives, they don't just slide out of your body like butter. It's actually difficult to A, stab someone, which is why it's always weird when someone does stab somebody else. But then B, it's not easy to slide it back out. It's not just like
You
a
seem to
cassette
know an
player where
awful
you
lot
just
about this.
I write short stories, but so it's not meant to be easy to pull out. So the whole idea is, if you pull out a knife, there's a chance you might do more damage. I.e., you might cut an artery on the way out. You might inflict damage on an organ, stuff like that. So she pulls out the knife, and it looks like it took a lot, a lot of strength to pull it out, because the guy's going, oh, and she's like, and it just comes straight out. So she's dragged him over into the same living room area of the cottage, and stupid move
She
101. She
slides
drags
him
him
over
real
next to the cellar.
suspiciously close to the cellar.
She really doesn't like
Uh,
this guy.
yeah, I mean, to be fair,
Got good reason. But she
to be
slides him
fair.
over. She could have just left him where he is, but she slides him over into the living room next to the cellar. The cellar's not open, but it has a little bit of a gap, because they've got like chains wrapped around it. And so at this point in the film, she's still trying to deal with Ash, who's gone all evil, and he comes in. And he has a battle with Annie, knocks her out. For the most part, I think he just chucks her at this point. She's like slightly kind of disoriented.
He chucks her against the wall, and she gets knocked out.
Yeah, and what he sees is the necklace that he gave. So he gave his girlfriend a necklace, the one that he killed, and he sees the necklace, and all of a sudden, like he seems to recognize it, even though he's possessed, and then he goes back into human form.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But
I think
before that even happens, so before Ash, I think, comes into the cabin, because Mr. Hillbilly is right next to the cellar, Henrietta opens up the cellar a little bit and yanks him down into the cellar.
I thought that was
And then
afterwards. Was it then?
no, that was before Ash even comes in.
All right, so she's even more of an idiot then.
Yeah. So he's getting yanked into the cellar. There's all blood flying out, and he's trying to pull him back out, but she doesn't have the strength. So Hillbilly basically just gets munched as he's getting pulled into the cellar, and he's basically dead. And then Annie, in her shock, she's like falling back, and that's when Ash kind of pops up.
I
And
thought
she's
it was
like,
after that, but yeah. You're right. That's
yeah,
how it works out. Yeah, and then he turns back, and this is slightly funny as well. So he's turned back, and he goes up to Annie, and she's trying to attack him while his back's turned, even though he's back to human, because she can't believe that the demon's kind of gone, not not possessing his body, and so he has to.
the reason why is because she's already seen her mother transform into her normal form, into her human form.
Yeah.
And she was singing a lullaby to her, trying to like coax her into opening up the cellar. So she knows that they can transform back into their human forms for a bit.
Yeah, so these demons are quite snidey. So they'll try and fool you. They'll play mind tricks, or to make you believe like oh yeah, now there's nothing wrong with me. I was normal. That was just like temporary. But he has to grab her and say, "You listen to me. I'm okay." So yeah, he has to grab her and say, "I'm fine."
And yeah, people in the cinema were laughing because he grabs her by the chin. She's like, and he's like, "Are you listening to me?" Huh? It's just funny the way when Ash gets angry in these movies, it's always hilarious because he's just like, "Now you listen up." And that type of, he's very assertive when he's angry, and it's just hilarious the way he's trying to convince her, because then she still doesn't believe him and still tries to like swipe at him with the axe or something she had.
Yeah.
So he's warranted to be angry, but she also had a reason to. I would be in the same position as her. I'd be like trying to kill his ass if
Yeah.
I had no.
Especially because he just spent a whole kind of sequence of just trying to kill her and throw her around and stuff. So at this point in the film, I think this is coming towards the end of the film now, isn't it? So at this point in the film, what happens is I think. Oh yeah. So it's just the two of them left at this point. So it's just Ash and Annie who are technically, the only human / alive ones left. Mr. Hillbilly's been, destroyed by Henrietta in the cellar. The brothers
Actually, At which point do they fight Henrietta?
That's
Oh,
what we're getting to.
yeah, yeah.
We're getting to that part. So the brother has been hacked, because he was possessed, and Barbara Joe, she got destroyed by some trees. So at this point, they're like, the only way we're going to be able to, you know, to get rid of this demon stuff is by going into the cellar and getting back those pages that the hillbilly threw into there. So he's just trying to ready himself up. So what the second and third film do is they have a scene where he prepares himself. He weaponizes himself. So he chops off the shotgun to shorten it up and make it a bit more close range. But then
It's like a training montage in like
Yeah.
martial arts movies, but it's more just like a preparation montage where he's like
Yeah.
putting the chainsaw on it. Like the
So
whole
he
chainsaw
modifies the chainsaw so that his hand, which has been chopped off, becomes a chainsaw arm. So he puts his arm into the chainsaw and like straps it up and everything. So he's preparing himself to go down into the cellar to get these pages. So as he goes down, and I'll get to your bit now. So they open up the cellar. Instead of opening it up, they decided to use the chainsaw, which I thought was a bit strange. I was like, you can open up the chains and just go in, but like, I don't know, maybe it was just to make it cool. He used the chainsaw to open up the cellar. He goes down the stairs, so she's waiting up top for these pages to be returned. So a few of these pages he finds and chucks them up, but he knows that there's more, so he keeps on going down into the cellar, goes further down. And you explain what happens at this part, especially the little bit of a movie mistake going on, little continuity error.
So I'd never noticed it before, but we went with a cousin of mine to watch the movie, and I was kind of laughing when Ash threw the pages back up, and then he found a couple more pages as he's going deeper and deeper into the cellar. Because I was thinking to myself, he has one arm which is a chainsaw, and then he has his other arm. I think he's a lefty in these as well. So he has his left hand, which he's still able to open doors and stuff with. So I was like, so what's he holding these pages with? And then the kind of logical explanation you'd reach is he's just putting the pages in his armpit and he's holding them there. But I was like, man, I swear I saw him like shuffling the pages with both hands. So I thought that was a bit weird. And then as he's going deeper into the cellar, you actually see one of these scenes where he sees like pages to the top right of him, and he grabs them with his right hand, which has been lopped off. So he grabs them with his right hand, and he's just like shuffling through them again. And I was laughing. I was like, dude,
yeah,
that's an actual continuity area.
I thought you might have made a mistake. So when we came back home after watching it, I've got the film digitally. I went through it and I went back to the exact same scene, and there it was. He just pulls out his right hand and he picks up these pages, which should have been his chainsaw arm. So yeah, that was good fun. So what happens after his right arm regrows?
So after his Piccolo moment, essentially what happens is there's a lot of tension being built as he's going down this cellar and finding these pages, but ultimately nothing happens. He finds all the pages. He kind of back steps, or like he walks backwards out of the cellar so he doesn't get caught off guard.
Yeah, chucks the pages up to Annie.
And then what happens is, I think
Henrietta was behind the stairs.
Yeah, but does Annie start to recite before or after he gets pulled down the stairs?
It doesn't really matter. I think I can't remember. She literally just gets the pages, and he's kind of like looking around, seemingly like wondering where the hell is this demon. And then all of a sudden takes his legs out from underneath him on the stairs, and he falls down and smashes against the floor.
Yeah.
And I think he gets knocked out slightly. And so because the cellar door is open, the demon goes up from the cellar and tries to attack Annie at this point, and like transforms into like a monster.
Well, first it's the floating scene, and we get all that. And Annie's being plagued by this fat zombie who's just floating in the air and dead by dawn and everything. Then we get this really cool moment once again where we're looking at the top of the cellar, and all we see is a chainsaw hand coming out over the top, and then another hand coming out over the top. Ash pulls himself up, and what does he say here at this point? Is it,
let's go.
He does
the whistle. He does the whistle. He goes,
yeah, he does a really high pitched whistle, which I can't do. Basically, the fingers in the mouth whistle, but just with his lips. So he does that. everyone just kind of turns to him in silence, which is a funny part of the movie again. That like she's still floating midair, but that she just looks at Ash, and Annie just looks at Ash as he's done this whistle, and he just goes, "Let's go." So then it's basically just like a fist fight between him and Henrietta,
And
they're
him
beating the
flailing
shit out
around
of
a
each other.
chainsaw as well,
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to cut her up.
Yeah, but he's missing with the chainsaw for the most part, and he's just it's basically just punching up. It's like Punch Out with Henrietta, and it gets to a point where Henrietta gets frustrated enough that she transforms. And this part was always really cool because they use some it's
Stop
very similar
motion.
to like the old Sinbad movies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They use stop motion, which I thought was interesting. But Henrietta transforms, her neck becomes really, really long and gangly. Her head becomes basically a lot more shriveled and skull-like. And there's a lot of monkey sound effects for some reason. So then they're trying to fight this long-necked. I think did she get wings? Like small wings? I think she does.
Can't remember.
Like this winged beast, long-necked monkey-sounding skull thing. And Ash is fighting against that. And eventually, I think he chainsaws the head and the arms off and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the head's just down there going, "Swallow us all, swallow us all," and he just shoots it with the classic line, "Swallow this."
Swallow this.
Yeah, lots of classic lines in this film as well.
Yeah.
I know one of the ones that me and you use a lot is, "We'll see if they don't." But yeah, so yeah, at this point, I think they've had their fill of excitement. They've killed the demon, so I think they're settling down to start reading the passages to send the demons back into, to close the portal and open it up and then send them back again. She starts reading, and all of a sudden, all these noises start appearing outside. They show like the woods are coming alive and they're coming closer to the cabin, and they start beating down the cabin as she's reading the passages. And they also show a portal being like a portal that just comes out of nowhere and starts sucking up stuff. But as she's reading it, she's probably about 3/4 of the way through or whatever.
Yeah, before that, we get one of the main things in the movies is you see this POV camera like zooming into things or flying into things. And that's meant to be like one of the main kind of demon, but we never see the form of that demon.
They don't show this demon throughout the first film, throughout the second film. It's just, one particular demon that at some points in the film is chasing Ash down or chasing whoever down. But we, the viewer, doesn't know what this monster looks like. Or
all we're seeing is from the point of view of that demon chasing whoever it's chasing.
Yeah. Really cool
so
shot.
We get that. Yeah, it's really cool and it moves quite fast actually.
Yeah.
So we get to see that POV thing again, and this time the door smashes down as Annie's reading the verses to get these demons out of here, and we get to see this very kind of, it looks like a Burns victim giant,
like a turtle
giant
kind
Freddy
of thing.
Krueger looking thing.
It's like a turtle's head kind of thing. It's really strange. It looks like something out of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
It looks like that brain thingy a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But Ash is looking at it and he isn't, and his hair on the sides turned white. I don't know if it's because out of fear or what. But he's just telling her, don't look at it. You carry on reading. And as she's reading it, you can see this monster, the main one that's been chasing him, and it's got like the heads of all of the people who've been killed, and they're kind of like talking, And as she's reading, all of a sudden out of nowhere, she gets stabbed in the back by his hand, his evil hand, who takes that dagger that she had before and stabs her in the back. And he's just like, no, because she hasn't finished reading the passages. And so everything's being sucked up. So the demons think they won because she hasn't finished the passage to, for this portal to suck them back in. And as she's on the floor, she still says a final few words, and she manages to finish a little bit more of the passage. I still don't think, it's not clarified, but I still don't think she finishes the full passage that she's meant to.
I'm still not sure either, because it's either she didn't finish the passages, or it's she did finish the passages, and the magic identified Ash as being technically one of the demons because he was possessed before that. So I'm not sure if that's how it worked, and it was like
maybe it was everything else as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
To make a long story short, the demons get sucked up, and you think that's it, but actually the portal's just getting stronger, and it takes Ash in to the portal with him. So Ash and the demons, they've all been sucked into this portal, as well as his car. And he's been sucked into like a medieval, I think it was like, what was it, 1300s, 1400s, something like that.
Something like that, like medieval Britain sometime.
So he's been sucked into medieval. I don't know why he got taken to Britain, even though he's in America. But that's beside the point. But he gets taken into, and that's where the film ends. Basically, he gets sucked into medieval Britain, and like they were reading some passages beforehand where in the book it states that there's a hero which looks like, conveniently enough, he has like some kind of chainsaw in his hand, and that he defeated the Deadites, which is what they called them back then. So it turns out, he's been transformed. He's been teleported into this situation, and you see all these knights, in armor and stuff like that, and they're all they're about to kill him because they think he's some kind of stranger. And then all of a sudden, you see like a winged demon flying his way, and he pulls out his shotgun and shoots it. And they see him, and they're like, you know what, this guy's a hero from the sky. And they all start hailing him, and he's just there like, no. So the film ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger where he's been sucked into this, this old medieval place. And the demons technically won and they lost, so they seem to have gone from his world. But he's also been transformed, taken into this world. And that's where Army of Darkness comes in, and you see that part of the story where in Army of Darkness, he's in this medieval place, and he's trying to get back to what for him is modern Earth, and So that's where that film kind of ends. The Evil Dead 2.
But yeah, so that's pretty much it. The only thing we missed was when that POV demon, we'll call it the main demon, comes out. The trees actually grab Ash and pull him towards that demon, and Ash manages to chainsaw it in one of its eyes, which was a really cool scene. I think if they ever made a proper remake that was really loyal to this film with all the black comedy and that type of stuff, that scene would look really awesome, I think. But yes, and then they go into that medieval, and then the third movie, Army of Darkness, based off of that, and Ash gaining the trust of these medieval people and then becoming that hero that he's been kind of prophesized to be, but still doing all the stupid Ash stuff that we'd expect from the second movie.
Yeah. That probably deserves its own video talking about probably the whole series. But what you haven't watched at all, and I've watched some, is Ash versus Evil Dead.
Oh, the Netflix one.
I think it stars, the guys who made Blood and Sand.
Oh, Spartacus.
Yeah, Spartacus, Blood and Sand, yeah. I think they were the ones who initially commissioned it. It's not a Netflix series. Right, but I actually watched, I think it was probably the first 2 seasons. I actually was enjoying it. It's completely different from the original 3 films because it's set in modern times. It's it's based after Army of Darkness. So the story is weird, but it was weirdly enjoyable. And there was the new Evil Dead film as well, which was kind of like a reboot.
Yeah, that new Evil Dead film, I can't remember much of it. All I remember was it was super gory, and I think they treated that a lot more like the first movie.
Yeah,
the first Evil Dead movie. So it was a straight plain horror, gory style movie, designed to like
There was a bit of
scary.
There was a bit of B-movie actionness to it. I think towards the end, from what I remember, and it's probably very little at this point because I watched it when it came out, and I think it came out probably early 2010s. Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah. So a lot of the film I can't remember, but yeah, the whole series is awesome. I mean, if any of you guys haven't seen any of the content from it, whether it's the kind of the series is more in line with kind of, I'd say Army of Darkness is a bit more black comedy. It's not really horror, it's more action, and it's kind of going around and defeating these demons and stuff like that. But yeah, like if you haven't watched them, give them a shot. Like, especially if you're into like zombie type films. These aren't really zombies, but it's bodies being possessed, that kind of thing. If you like comedy films, give it a go. If you like horror films, give it a go. Um, that's about as much as I've got to say about, especially Evil Dead 2. That's
Yeah.
as much as I got to say about it.
Yeah, I think it's one of for both of us because we watched it when we were quite young as well. The amount of influence it's had in terms of the things we say,
The
the
one-liners,
references we make.
yeah,
Yeah, especially like so Evil Dead 2, there's a lot of one-liners, but Evil Dead 3 is where
three,
all the like
yeah,
they made that movie I think with the idea that we're gonna try and make Bruce Campbell like an action star, and he has all these really cheesy but really really awesome ones and like his creative ways of swearing, not too explicit but funny and things like that. And then his whole boomstick stuff because he's trying to explain to these people from medieval Britain what a shotgun is, what a chainsaw is, all that type of stuff, what gunpowder is. So there's all of that comedy that comes with it, and kind of helps him to make these one-liners. But it's just really really awesome. So yeah, I think it's influenced us a lot.
yeah,
So
for sure.
definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest influences in terms of like other stuff that we watch. I always tell my friends like when we were back in school, I used to always talk about Evil Dead films to them, probably to their annoyance. but, but yeah, I think today's a relatively short episode. I think we're looking to make our episodes a bit short. I think generally we get to the 2 hour mark. I'm trying to get these condensed into an hour. And I
Yeah.
think we've been doing a decent job of that recently. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's it for today's episode. We'll probably see you guys next week. What topic are we thinking about? Actually, we're probably going to be talking about Death on the Nile,
Yeah.
which is what we're
Yeah.
going to be watching in cinema sometime next week. Probably be taking our mom to go watch it with us as well. I think in the meantime, we're probably going to be watching Murder on the Orient Express. We watched that in
Yeah.
cinema, but I haven't watched it since, so it'd be good to get a recap on that. So that'll probably be showing up in the next episode. But until then, guys, take care and see you next week. Bye.
Peace.